Come on in, sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guests for this episode were the four co-founders of a new startup called Hamachi. They are people you've heard of before, well-known faces in the wealth management industry, starting with Eric Clarke, co-founder and former CEO of Orion, Brian McLaughlin, founder and former CEO of Redtail Technology, Mike Wilson, founder and former CEO of Advisory World, and Mustafa Basiri, co-founder of financial planning software maker Advisor. These four gentlemen have gotten together for a new startup, which is called Hamachi. And we spoke about the problem that they're looking to solve, which is uncontrolled AI adoption, their solution, which is Hamachi's AI compliance platform, and a little bit about the underlying technology, including expert bots and super prompts. Wait till you hear about super prompts. You're really going to like that. But speaking of underlying technology, if you're running a wealth management firm where the technology decisions used to fall to whoever drew the short straw, I want to talk to you about a terrific offering at Ezra Group. We call it our fractional CTO service, or Fracto. Our Fracto service can support your current CTO on specific projects or help build a technology strategy if you don't have a CTO. And that's where we come in. Fracto puts Ezra Group's senior consultants in your corner on a monthly retainer. We can support or even run your entire tech strategy. We can help you manage your vendors, design new CRM workflows your advisors will actually use, or even execute on those projects that have been sitting on the back burner for years. So if you want to free your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk, to our website, ezragroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage to schedule a free consultation. We know what works and what doesn't. And now, standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. Please check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor in the wealth management space, you want your wealth tech integration score to be up to date. Everyone's checking it. All your prospects are checking it. They want to know how well your application integrates with every other application in our space. We have that at ezragroup.com. You want to go to ezragroup.com/register to register your product so that your wealth tech integration score will always be up to date. And now, let's kick this thing off. All right, I'm excited to introduce our next guests for this episode. We have a collaboration here. We've got four guests, the four co-founders of a new startup called Hamachi. We have Eric Clarke, Brian McLaughlin, Mike Wilson, and Mustafa Basiri, all from Hamachi. Guys, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. This is a full house.
Thanks for having us. We're excited, Craig.
Excellent. So we've got a lot of questions here. We've got a lot of guests. So I'm going to go one round robin so we can everyone hear your voices. We know who's who. For the people listening on the podcast, obviously people watching on YouTube will be able to see it. But for the podcast, let's start a quick round. Normally we ask for a 30-second elevator pitch for the product. So for Hamachi, let's start with Eric. Eric Clarke, former founder and CEO of Orion. What's Hamachi about?
Thanks for the question, Craig. At Hamachi, we allow advisory firms and broker-dealers to finally say yes to using AI with all the industry guardrails in place to alleviate all the compliance concerns, the concerns around PII, and yet at the same time, allow these firms to implement and get all the benefit and efficiencies that AI has to offer. That's the elevator pitch. It has everything to do with compliance and everything to do with allowing firms to embrace all the capabilities that AI has to bring to the table.
Cool. Very cool. All right. This question is for Brian McLaughlin, former founder and CEO of Redtail. Before we get into the feature set, the specific features, so what's the specific moment in an advisor's day that made you say, this is really broken and we need to build a new product around it?
I mean, I'm going to speak a little bit to myself. I think we all kind of feel the same way, which is when MCP servers came out. MCP, serverless model context protocol, enabled AI to have skills, right? Or to have insights into where to get information that you can programmatically do. And you had this background history we all have of watching advisors use so many different tools to achieve their job, or having to use so many different tools to do research to even communicate with a client or provide feedback or insights to everything from portfolios to planning to prospecting, doesn't matter what. And when you realize they're using so many tools, and now we have this capability in technology to write overlays that can read and know where to go get contact information from a CRM, where to go get a document, where to go look for different things. It was kind of like an aha moment, like, oh my God, we can do like some type of bot layer that can be expert bots, programmatically trained, where they're built for a specific purpose. They have the regulation pipelines and all the custom built tools to make it very highly accurate and insightful. That was really like the moment that kind of about a year or so ago where we're like, oh man, this would be so cool if we could do X, Y, and Z. Well, the technology was there now. Like we could do that. So we started building. And I think that was one of the powerful moments that got us going. I mean, there's been a number of iterations, of course, as we played with this, and the technology changes, and it's changing so fast. But we've been keeping up with the changes and making iterations to make it even better. But I think the way we did our pipelines to control compliance regulatory checks, marketing checks, just everything's really well built to the way that it's not just throw into ChatGPT and ask it a question, hope I get the right answer. It's actually more curated than that. And I love that part of the feature set.
Are you sure we can't just throw things in ChatGPT? I mean, everyone seems to
Oh, of
just do
course you
that
can.
anyway.
There's a million of those. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just watched the Super Bowl. That's when we're airing this, is the day after the Super Bowl, and
Just throw it in.
I'm recording this.
Okay. We're doing a little bit of a round robin here. So we have four guests. And so that was Brian. So now up for Mike Wilson, former CEO of Advisory World and now co-founder of Hamachi. So Mike, you guys have described Hamachi as a communication layer rather than a traditional advisor tool. So I'm a little confused. Where does it sit in the tech stack? And how does it interact with systems that advisors are already using?
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, we look at ourselves as being additive. And I'll tell you why we've been so like anchored on communication is because the advisory business, it's all about relationships. And we see like advisors trying to have communications with more and more clients in a highly informed manner. It's what advisors do day in and day out. And so we were looking for ways to help that really scale as more investors look and seek out advice. And so, when I say we're additive, we've hooked into, the CRM and the portfolio management systems that are widespread, widely used throughout the industry, and look to ways to like unlock the data that's in those wonderful systems. But CRMs are data systems, right? Portfolio management systems run calculations. We are, performing governance and logic on top of those to produce things like, we refer to like a daily brief and a household brief. Both of those materials that we're producing help give advisors like an immediate insight into what their, book looks like, what their day is going to consist of, who they need to talk to. And it does so, Craig, in a manner that is, highly informed in the sense that we've got a series of what we refer to as expert bots that come in over the top of Hamachi and say like, hey, these are the type of things you should be looking at. When those extra bots might come from, the parent RIA, it might come from your broker dealer, it might be from a practice management coach, it might be from the asset management firms that know and trust and follow their religion. So like all of that content comes together on top of our platform, Craig, and allows advisors to better interact with their clients in the form of communication.
So is Hamachi sort of a bot wrangler?
I don't know if we're a bot wrangler. I guess you could say that. It's the first I've heard it. But,
I mean, you're organizing and managing a lot of other bots from other companies, right? That's what you're implying here. So you're sort of putting that, you said your governance on top. So you're sort of managing all the other bots. So this is something I've actually thought about, that there's with every application, I was on a panel at a RIA conference and about introducing AI into your RIA. And when I first started up, my first thing that I said was, you already have AI in your RIA. Any software you've got is launching AI, and they're not even telling you. They're just pushing it out. So there's no real way to control that. Every one of your vendors has got it. They're pushing it out. They're building it on who knows what LLMs, who knows how they're training it, where is it coming from, where is it going. So it seems like having a governance system on top of all that would be really valuable.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. And Eric mentioned that as like the first pillar of our mission statement, right? Of our elevator pitch, I guess it was. And that's all around guardrails
Yeah.
and compliance. And one of the the subcomponents of that I'm sure you're really familiar with is observability. So every single time a user of Hamachi runs a prompt or does anything within our platform, that's logged and available for audit. And we also go back and check to make sure that any of the answers that were produced by an LLM were accurate. And so that's something that I think Mustafa could go in a lot deeper on. And maybe that's a topic for another conversation, up to you, of course. But it is a very important component of what we're bringing to the table. All of this, guardrails and governance.
All right, I just made a note to come back to that because I want to get to Mustafa because he hasn't had a chance yet. So the fourth pillar, the fourth guest here is Mustafa Basiri, who's the CTO of Hamachi, former founder, co-founder of Advisor software, great piece of software. And now, so question for you, sir. You guys have emphasized that you're doing expert trained agents or expert bots, which I think you're saying they're going to replace generic AI prompts. So what goes into training these agents and bots, and what work is required from advisors or your clients to keep it accurate and compliant?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So when it comes to these expert AI agents, we basically do several things to train these agents and make sure they're accurate. One of the things we do is, when you create an agent, you provide it with source material, the domain you want this agent to be an expert on, so you can upload PDFs pointed to an API or several types of data sources. And then we take care of taking that data and making sure that that agent becomes an expert on that topic or that data that you're giving it. So we do that in a few ways. First, we have kind of our own pre-processing workflow. So we take all of this data that could be in many different formats, and we pre-process it in a way that optimizes the data to make an LLM understand it deeply. So compare that to when you're using ChatGPT, you might just attach a file in your conversation and ask ChatGPT about that file. It'll probably answer you correctly most of the time. But when that file contains complex data like tables, charts, figures, it might not respond accurately. So we have this pre-processing pipeline that we take the data through to make sure it's understandable by the LLM. That's one thing. Another thing is we've engineered all the prompts and the context behind these agents to make sure that these agents are not distracted by any other types of data that they don't need. So it's all about context engineering. When you have an agent that has a narrow scope, it knows what it's supposed to know, and it's always fed the right data when it's trying to answer a question, then it's very likely to answer you correctly, especially if you're using these frontier models that have reasoning built in, like GPT 5.2 or Opus 4.6. So we always make sure we're using the latest reasoning models, and we're always making sure that the context engineering is there and it's optimized. Another thing we do is anytime an agent responds to a question, it's always required to provide the source material, like where did it get this answer from? And it provides the link. We take it all the way to the front end to the user to see that link, and they can click through and verify for themselves that the data is accurate. So I think it's a host of things, but I would say the biggest thing is making sure we do a lot of the context engineering and making sure that these agents have a narrow scope and they have all the data they need to answer the questions that they're being asked.
All right, I'm going to open it up, and at the risk of this becoming a free-for-all with all four of you guys, I want to talk about agents and the engineering. You mentioned context engineering, Mustafa, and I'm very concerned about context and prompting. And I feel that a lot of the AI apps, and again, we see them every day. We're getting overwhelmed with AI apps, and a lot of it involves, oh, this great feature. The advisor can ask it any question they want, which really is telling the advisor, you need to be a really good prompt engineer to get anything out of this system. Is that what you're saying here, or is it something else all entirely going on? How are we going to avoid that, forcing advisors to be prompt engineers?
Yeah, that's a great question. We were actually talking about this earlier this morning. Our goal is to make our goal is definitely to remove the prompt engineering away from the financial advisor. We want to handle and deal with all the complexity. So we do the context engineering with these AI agents, these expert bots, and we also do the prompt engineering with these super prompts. Um, Happy to let Mike talk more about super prompts and our idea behind creating these super prompts. But I think that should answer your question, Craig.
Yeah, I'll dig in a
Yeah,
little bit
Mike, you're
more.
up. What's a super prompt, and is it
Well,
a better than an expert bot?
no, it's similar, right? They work with one another. So imagine a super prompt as being a prompt that knows how to talk to our orchestrator or your Wrangler, if you will.
Yeah, bot
Um,
wrangler. I'm gonna trademark that. Bot wrangler.
so our super prompts, they are highly curated prompts that are pre-designed for very specific use cases, and they understand how to interact with multiple bots in the scope of our orchestrator. So for example, you could say, as part of our household brief, we can call our Morningstar bot and pull down Morningstar content about a portfolio. We can interact with other practice management bots that are part of our part of our library, so that we can get certain specific content related to that household brief. So these prompts, again, or super prompts as it were, are predefined canned prompts that allow advisors to handle specific use cases, and they understand how to interact with LLMs and our bot store perfectly.
But that can also get complicated. I mean, Brian and I were talking about this 2 weeks ago about we're both working with AI agents, and when I'm online looking, doing reading either on Reddit or on Twitter X, and people are posting, oh, look at this prompt. This is a great prompt. Use this prompt with this agent. Use this prompt with this agent. It's going to be great. It's going to change your life. So I'm even getting overwhelmed. Like, which prompt should I use? Which one's better? How are advisors going to know like which? So are you predefining these super prompts and telling the advisor, here's the prompt to use with this particular bot?
That's right. That's right. This particular bot or this particular use case. So, for example, if you need to get ready for an annual review, are you familiar with a firm named FP Pathfinder, Craig?
Yes, I am.
So, they're an example of one of the firms we're working with to create a bot, right? And so, if you think about a super prompt that interacts with your CRM data, Redtail, Salesforce, whatever that be, FP Pathfinder, and Morningstar, like you're right, man. Like you could ask an advisor could go in and say like, do this, do that, like and give full prompt, like generate a prompt that would be great. But that's hard to do. Whereas inside of Hamachi, you click one button and it generates you this beautiful report that you can then talk to.
I think that's part of the thing we were talking about, Craig, is like the super prompts are really like already curated prompts.
Mhm.
Because you're right. You can go to Got a Prompt, you go to all these places, just go to X. I can't tell you how many times I see like, here's how you do it. Here's the 7 prompts that make it best.
Mhm.
Like it's overwhelming. And so the super prompts are already like pre-programmed, tested, validated by us and others, and we just keep refining those as time goes on. And that provides so much of the context engineering requirements to know how to work with this type of data that a financial advisor works with, not something else. So, like our tool specifically, you can't just go on there and be like, hey, find me the best flights for my next trip.
Mhm.
That's not the point of the tool. The point of the
Right.
tool is to talk to your data from different sources, aggregate data from different expert bots, and provide you a comprehensive result. And that is the biggest challenge. We're kind of past like all the the fake AI outputs as much because of all the reasoning that goes on with LLMs now, but it's still a challenge to have just context management. And I think now I'm seeing the advertisements, of course, that context management is king, which is, I think, absolutely right because it gets you the best result every single time consistently. And that's the goal of the super prompts.
Indeed. All right. So the time is flying by here. I'm going to jump ahead in a couple of the questions to try to ask ones I think will be interesting, most interesting answers. So I want to talk about differentiation. Now we all know how fast, how beneficial AI is to programming and building, and a lot of larger RIAs and asset managers and broker dealers are building their own systems now because it's so easy to do. So why shouldn't a sophisticated RIA or broker dealer or asset manager look at what you guys are doing, say, and we can build a lot of this ourselves? What are they really underestimating in terms of what you're building, what you're delivering in this product?
Yeah, Mustafa, I know can chime in here as well, but I would say that those compliance guardrails are ready to go relative to having to say as an enterprise, how do we engineer all of these guardrails that we need so our advisors can leverage this tech? Whether it's in regards to removing the PII before we share the information with the language model. We're doing that in a very unique way where we redact and tag all of the PII so that the context is still understood by the language model, so that Robert, Bob, and Bobby are all mentioned, say, in a correspondence as being the same person. We tag the PII in a way that the AI can still respond appropriately with that context in mind, but yet share the information in a safe manner. We provide complete auditing of the audit trail of not only the prompts that we send over, but the responses that come back, so that at any time, if you want to use those responses to retrain the agents, you can do that. Or for compliance purposes, you can go back and show how the advice was derived that was provided. We have a complete audit trail in place. And everything that comes back from the AI platform, we run through agents that are trained on the SEC and FINRA regulations so that the responses that come back are appropriate. Now, that those compliance views in mind are a nice start, but certainly from a technical perspective, it took a significant lift for us to get those items in place for these firms, and we're giving them a head start, right? They can take what we've built and move it forward from there, as opposed to having to worrying about putting that foundation layer of compliance in place. I think, Craig, more often than not, the biggest thing that prevents firms from fully embracing AI is the concerns that they have, from the compliance teams. And so we wanted to address those head on and make sure that compliance could give, the green light to allowing firms to leverage the tech.
Yeah, I agree totally with Eric. I would say like while it's easier to build software these days with AI, it's still difficult to build an AI system that is reliable, compliant, accurate, and we've spent countless hours working on these specific problems, and we feel like we have a solid solution that deals with PII and accuracy and compliance. So yeah, to Eric's point, we would be giving clients a head start over all of it, all of the stuff.
Excellent. So one thing we haven't spoken about is the asset manager part of your business. So one of your core part of the business model, as I understand it, is delivering bots from asset managers to advisors, or asset managers sponsoring the platform. So how is that going to work at scale, and what's going to be available through your platform that wealth management firms can't already get from their asset manager partners?
Well, gosh, I think I'll answer your second part of your question first, if you don't mind, Craig, and around like what a advisor can get from their asset manager without Hamachi. And so what we've designed at Hamachi is the ability for asset managers to build their expertise in an agent. And with that, all of their white papers, fact sheets, research materials, I'll use the term religion again, just because I came off a call recently with an asset manager that talks about their religion and how advisors like preach a certain methodology when they're talking to investors. All of that domain gets into an agent on Hamachi. And so every single time an advisor needs to answer a question about a specific investment product or strategy, anytime they need to take a look at an investor's portfolio and make a recommendation for a certain product or investment strategy, all of that corpus gets immediately accessible in the context of the investor and any of his or her CRM data, right? That's something like there's no way like an advisor today. Their advisors are wonderful people and incredibly talented. There's no way any advisor can say like, okay, I can take a white paper that I get on LinkedIn and a fact sheet I get at a conference, put those together and make it relevant to my 500 clients. Like you can't like you sure you could like send it to them, attach something, give them like a little one liner, but it's making it like super personalized and relevant is nearly a fool's errand at that point, right? However, with our platform, every single conversation you have with a client or a prospect about a specific investment strategy can be highly personalized.
I like it. That's important. We talk about personalization all the time. It's sort of a buzzword, but I'd love to see an application like Hamachi be able to do that at scale across all conversations. All right, so we're still running out of time. I'm going to keep squeezing a couple more questions in. I think this one might go to Brian, but I mean, or to Eric, but it could be anybody really. So you got all of you guys have successfully launched companies, scaled them, and sold them, and so now you're starting all over again. So what is harder this time? Now, again, the market's changed, technology's changed, the industry's changed. What's harder? Is it building the product, earning trust, or navigating perceptions of your prospects on what you're doing?
Think that I would answer that question, Craig, that AI is the biggest advantage that we have this go round, and it's also the biggest disadvantage, because just as soon as we get an idea in place, it can be quickly commoditized because AI is advancing at such a rapid clip. So not only are we embracing AI to create the offering, but AI itself is becoming, exponentially better as we've spent the past year together building Hamachi. It's been unbelievable to look back and even see the advances that AI out of the box has been able to provide to firms. And so we're super excited about it. Obviously, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are today without being able to use AI, but we're still, trying to make sure that our offering is on the cutting edge of allowing advisors to use all of the latest and greatest that AI has to offer.
I would just add, AI is still relatively new. It's still new. So the challenge for us and lots of AI startups is we're not only trying to deliver a great product. We're also trying to change advisors' habits to use AI and leverage it, which is also an extra level of difficulty compared to if we were building just another SaaS product like all of us did before.
All right, so Mike, if zooming out, so Hamachi is successful, or 12 months from now, you've got traction, you've got some clients, things are working. So these new clients are now taking advantage of Hamachi's platform. How does it change their business model? How does it change their division of labor in their staff versus firms that are not using Hamachi?
So, I'd say it would change things. It's AI isn't going to replace advisors, Craig. AI is going to get rid of all the stuff that's slowing an advisor down. So it's just what we seek to do is add a ton of efficiency to an advisor's day in day out practice. Some of what we're producing in this daily brief, for example, will help isolate what certain people on your team should be doing. So from the advisor through the paraplanner to the assistant, the admin, everybody, And so it's really designed to help folks understand where to act in their daily operations. And I'll just use the term efficiency again. That's exactly where we're headed with Hamachi, is trying to open up advisory practice to serve more clients. And that can come in the form of organic growth. It might come in the form of, advisor and his or her assistants get to play more golf during the week. Like whatever it is that a practice is trying to do, we're trying to just, create some space for in their day.
Excellent. So last question, Brian McLaughlin. So looking ahead, put your vision on your future vision cap or your future vision glasses. Where do you see AI-driven advisor communications in the future? Is it a built-in feature, or are advisors pulling in separate tools like Hamachi to do these specific use cases?
Yeah, I think it's going to be specialized tools on top of existing platforms. The existing platforms are going to take some time to incorporate AI throughout everything. They have a lot of work to do that is very valuable for their applications, but it's still having multiple tools that an advisor has to implement in their business. It's so many different tools, from email to maybe Google services or Microsoft Office 365 apps, to all of that incorporated in one. Being able to interface all of that in one application like Hamachi, I think, is the future state of these tools for the current time, while people are building out the internal AI use cases for like internal workflows in a CRM or in a portfolio management system to make those individual workflows even better. So that's where I think the power is in the current state. There's been overlay.
Awesome. Wow. Time has flown, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. We are out of time. So where can people find more information about Hamachi, and how do you spell it?
Hamachi is Hamachi, and you can find more information about us at hamachi.ai, which is our homepage.
Excellent.
And heck, maybe even soon botwrangler.ai.
Yeah, Bot Wrangler. Quick, get that one before I do, because I'm going to buy that one. Great, guys. Eric, Brian, Mike, Mustafa, thanks so much. We appreciate talking to you. And
Thank you,
best of luck.
Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. Number 1, Hamachi is focused on providing enterprise-level compliance and governance guardrails to allow advisors to safely leverage AI capabilities in their practices. This includes features like PII redaction, audit trails, and regulatory compliance checks. 2, Hamachi is building a platform of expert bots, AI agents that are pre-trained on specific industry data sources and content from asset managers, practice management coaches, and other experts. This allows advisors to get highly personalized and contextual insights and recommendations. And 3, Hamachi aims to increase efficiency and productivity for advisory teams by automating repetitive tasks and surfacing the most relevant information and actions that an advisor needs to take each day based on their client data and market insights. All right. Congratulations. You reached the end of another episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Before you go, head over to our website, ezgroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.